Hi y'all, welcome back to my channel. I'm Jacqueline Gibson. I am a professional astrologer and I use the whole sign house system. So first things first, I apologize for how late this update is. All I can say is that I second what I've heard some other astrologers say this week, which is that eclipses affect astrologers too. And a lot of the astrologers that I follow are also born on or around eclipses like I am. And it seems to affect us a little bit more. So if that's you, maybe you can relate. But I've missed you all, so let's get to your update. Today we're focusing on the event of the solar eclipse that's happening on March 29th at about 5 a.m. Mountain Time. This will be the last solar eclipse in Aries for about 8 or 9 years, but it's the last one of this cycle. So you can kind of look at this as like last call. It's time to start wrapping it up. It's time to start deciding what your next steps are going to be. It's time to start thinking about closing out, where are you going, that kind of thing. So although it's like the beginning of the end, it's not the actual end yet. It's like the heads up. Start wrapping it up. Start closing things out. So now let's take a look at some of the transits that are accompanying this eclipse. So the sun and the moon will be at 9 degrees of Aries. And remember, this is the solar eclipse. When we had the lunar eclipse on March 14th, Mercury was at 9 degrees of Aries just before it went retrograde. So this suggests that the themes from the solar eclipse are connected to that Mercury retrograde. And that is still in effect and will remain in effect until April 27th. On top of that, Venus is retrograde, and she went retrograde at 10 degrees of Aries. Her cycle does not conclude until May 16th, May 15th, 16th. So when I say last, like the solar eclipse is a last call, and we're starting to wrap things up, we are starting, but they're not concluded until Venus is actually out of her retrograde cycle. So it's like it's getting a little bit closer to the end now, and we can feel that plans are sort of coming together for the ending of whatever this cycle has meant for you. And then when Mercury is completely done with its retrograde period, it will feel a little bit closer. We'll see more things coming together. And then Venus is like, okay, we're really done. April 27th, things are coming together. About May 15th, 16th, we're really done. Incidentally, when Venus returns to her regular motion through the zodiac, she will have gone from being an evening star, which is what she was when we started this whole mess. And now Venus will be a morning star again. And when Venus is a morning star, starting new things tends to go a little bit easier. It's not a huge difference, but there's some difference. Also, if you're looking for Venus in the sky, look for her in the morning. One other key transit connected to this eclipse happens the day after the eclipse happens, and that will be Mercury retrograde going over Neptune. So Mercury's retrograde, that's already giving us some confusing situations and details and communications, but making that connection with Neptune, it's kind of like Mercury retrograde was already confusing and then it got drunk, or then it hit its head. It just got a little bit more scattered or like foggy, difficult to pin down. So like the 29th, 30th, 31st, maybe even a couple days into April, not the greatest time for trying to like pin things down, get to the facts, really figure things out. It's a good time to take things in, take information in, but that coming to a conclusion piece, if you're doing that based on new information that's come to you through those days, it's not the greatest time for it. And you'll probably have to go back and redo something. And also, if you're feeling confused, just feel validated. Like everybody's confused right now. It's not a big deal, and it's not going to last forever. So just to kind of summarize all of that, a solar eclipse generally indicates new beginnings, but this one is attached to a lot of confusion, 2 retrograde planets plus a transit over Neptune. So it's not a good place to like start a new foundation. It's a good place to check things, to reassess things, to research, to get new ideas. It's a good place for inspiration or remembering like old inspirations that you might have forgotten about. Maybe you want to add to whatever's going on. It's just not the greatest time to like, hit the ground running and start something new. It's coming, but we still have to be patient. Okay, so now let's briefly take a look at how this eclipse will be affecting you based on your rising sign. If you have Aries rising, all of these eclipses and retrogrades have been happening in your first house. So it's likely that this final eclipse is going to profoundly affect your identity and your self-image. You might feel a strong urge to redefine how you want to project like who you are to the rest of the world. And if this is what's happening with you right now, you just want to be cautious of miscommunications in how you communicate those changes to others. Also, you might want to be prepared for like misunderstandings coming to you from others based on just how you have presented yourself or how you're showing up. Maybe you don't think that there's anything all that different, or maybe you didn't foresee other people reacting the way that they are. The important thing right now is to just not overreact. You may need time to get used to the new you, and others just might need time to get used to it. If you have Pisces rising, this eclipse and all the retrogrades have been happening in your second house. And this is the house of personal finance, your personal wealth, and your stuff. So you can expect that you're going to feel an urge to reassess your finances, your valuables. Like you might want to start getting rid of things. There may be something that you want to sell. But you want to be really careful of any confusion around your finances. If you're making any kind of investment plans, you really want to think those through, maybe get advice from others, do more research, however that applies to you. And remember again that investment doesn't always mean stock market investing. It can be, I'm investing in a home, I'm investing in a new car. So you just want to make sure that you have all of your facts straight and that this is the best investment for you based on all of the information. And right now might not be the best time to make any of those decisions. It doesn't mean you can't. It just means ask yourself first, like, did I really think this through? Did I really do my research? Have I really cut through any confusion? And if you can answer yes, then move forward. If you start feeling like, blocks are just being thrown at me where this is concerned left and right, kind of take that as, okay, maybe I haven't done everything. Like, I thought I did all of the research. I thought I had all of my facts straight, but am I missing something? And if I am, is there a better time for this? So just kind of be aware and on the lookout for that. If you have Aquarius rising, then this solar eclipse and the accompanying retrogrades of Mercury and Venus, these are all affecting your third house. The third house is the house of siblings, communication. It's your daily routine. It can be plans that you're making. It can be the places that you go to on a day-to-day basis. You want to be cautious of any miscommunication in any of these areas. So miscommunications with your siblings, miscommunications that occur as you're going about your day, maybe with the people that you see every day, whatever your daily routine looks like and the people involved in that. Or it may just feel like the routine itself has become confusing. Maybe it's that your routine every day is it's become overloaded. You have too much to do and it's become confusing because of that. Or maybe you've lost something somewhere that has made your day a little bit more difficult. So you just want to double check all of those things. Do your best to avoid confusion. know that if it comes up anyway, that's not your fault. Like, it's just sort of happening right now. But when that comes, just take a time out, like take a minute to kind of sort through things, if that makes sense. Just proceed with caution, not fear, just move through it slowly. And if you feel confused, you don't have to take action. If you have Capricorn rising, the solar eclipse and the retrogrades are all happening in your fourth house. And the fourth house represents your home, your family, your foundation. A lot of times it's your like emotional foundation, but it can also be like your actual structural foundation. So your physical home or the physical place where you live. This can also affect family dynamics. So like the relationships of your family and the dynamics between people. You might feel compelled to make some changes to your living situations or to your emotional foundation in some way. Just again, be cautious of those misunderstandings and of just that, overall confusion. If you find that you're feeling any of that, just take it slow. If you have Sagittarius rising, this eclipse and the retrogrades that are accompanying this eclipse is happening in your fifth house. Your fifth house is all about creativity. It's about what you create. It's about what brings you joy. Can be sometimes about children, especially if you have children. This eclipse can also be about romance or affairs. It's not necessarily about your marriage partner, but if you are married, it can be about the romance in your marriage, within your marriage. It's not the marriage overall, but that aspect of it, if that makes sense. So you want to just be aware of the possibility that there could be miscommunications with your children, with your partner, whether that's a long-term partner or, someone you just started dating. Some miscommunications could come up or some confusion. You might also feel like you're missing romance in your life, or you are like you've lost some like a creative step, like something that once brought you joy, whether it's a hobby, activity, whatever it is that you like creating. You might feel like you've lost something about that right now. If that's the case, just take some time out. Try to like settle into that feeling of confusion, if that makes sense. A lot of times confusion happens because I'm trying to do this one thing and I'm trying to do it this way. And there's like an interruption, like something's trying to shift me in a new way, but it's not giving me like concrete evidence or, a conclusion to strive for. It's just sort of like moving things around in a way that doesn't make sense. So it's like, wait for that to become more inspirational, to kind of give you an idea before you actually take action. And try really hard not to get frustrated in the meantime, which is going to be difficult for everyone, but do your best. No one's expected to do this perfectly. If you have Scorpio rising, this eclipse is affecting your sixth house, which is the house of our physical health and well-being. Can also just be like, your work routine, your work environment. So wherever there has been miscommunications or confusion in those areas, that's the focus of both the eclipse and the retrograde in Mercury and with Venus. What that means for Scorpio rising is you might want to seek like second opinions for any kind of like medical diagnosis at this time, or you might find that something that you had determined, like you already knew what it was, it turns out to be something completely different. For example, you might notice that I'm wearing readers. I decided many years ago that's all I needed. Went to the eye doctor, found out that I'm like practically blind. Not really, but there was a lot there and a lot more than readers. So I thought I had a handle on that. I definitely didn't. That's the kind of thing that might come up. So I say that just because, eyeglasses, it's not cancer. It's not a big deal, right? So it doesn't have to be catastrophic just because it's related to your health. I don't want the word health to scare anybody. I think the biggest thing is the confusion piece. Like, I thought I knew what this was. It turns out I was way off, or, I really needed to get a professional opinion. That wasn't something I should have been diagnosing myself. Or the professional opinion I got was really bad. Like, you could be the reverse in your situation. The professional opinion I got was really bad, and I'm glad I sought out another professional opinion. So we want to go from like, I got a professional to assess the situation. I'm just not feeling comfortable with that. So I seek out somebody else. I seek out more advice. It's not a time for self-diagnosis, especially if that's not something that you know anything about. I don't know anything about how eyes work. When the doctor was explaining to me what was wrong with my eyes, I was completely lost. I didn't know any of those things were even like a possibility. Like that your eyes can get tired from trying to see because of whatever is wrong with them. Like these were all foreign things to me. I've never had problems with my eyes before. So that's the kind of thing I'm talking about. Like, it just might feel like so simple, and yet to you, maybe it's so out of your norm that it feels kind of alien. It's okay. Get as many opinions as you feel you need, professional opinions. Not a good time for self-diagnosis again. And then do what feels right for you as we move forward into May. It also might feel like, oh, I've got a solution, but I'm not there yet. Like, I've seen what it's going to look like when I can see normally, but I'm not there yet, which is kind of a bummer. So those kind of things may be happening with your health, whatever that looks like for you. Like, you got to see what it would be like when this was no longer a problem, but you don't get to have it yet. And you got to experience that for a second, and now you don't have it. Like, sometimes when they do like a before after on a plastic surgery kind of thing, but you haven't done your appointment yet, that kind of thing. It's wrapping it up, and I have an idea of the direction I'm going in, but I don't know exactly what's going to happen or what it's going to look like. Again, that can also be the same in your work environment. There could be changes to your work environment. There's shifts going on there, or to your daily routine, whatever your daily routine looks like. And you might have like a pretty good vision in your mind of what that conclusion is going to look like, but you're not there yet. So now it's just about that being patient and taking the next steps that you need to get there. If you have Libra rising, then Aries is in your 7th house, and this eclipse and the accompanying retrograde planets are affecting your 7th house the most. So this could mean that this is more something that's about your partner than it is about you. Like the eclipses, the endings, but I'm not there yet. Like you might sense some frustration with your partner that they're going through something that sounds like all of this. And so your focus may be on what they're going through and not so much, something that's happening in your life. This could also be about the relationship. So your relationship with your partner could be going through some shifts or some changes. There might be, a conclusion that you've both decided on, or a solution that you both decided on, but again, you're not there yet. That might be kind of frustrating right now. Could be causing like misunderstandings in the relationship. There could also be some confusion in your relationship regarding like next steps in something that the two of you are doing together. In some instances, this is not about a significant other, but it's about a partner on a project, or like someone that you work with one-on-one. If that's the case, again, you just want to be cautious of misunderstandings or miscommunications or any kind of like faulty plan that you're relying on, if that makes sense. Like if your partner in whatever has suggested something and that just doesn't sound viable to you, you do want to voice it. You just want to be cautious about like the tone you use when you voice it, and am I being condescending, or am I voicing this in a way that's going to cause more problems than it is, fixing the problem, or causing more problems than it does solutions. So just be aware of that. and just try to move through it patiently. If you have Virgo rising, this eclipse is in your 8th house. The 8th house is focused on like transformation, legacies. It can be inheritance or just other people's money. This can also be about intimacy, and that can be about intimacy with a partner, or it can be about like your own views on intimacy and how willing you are to be vulnerable. The 8th house can also rule anxieties and fears, as well as shared resources. So it's all of the above. So you want to just kind of determine like, okay, which of those things has been active in my life, like pronounced in my life? What have I noticed lately? You know, probably if you don't have a significant other, then it's not about shared resources because you don't share resources with anyone. So you would want to look at something else. You do have an opportunity for significant emotional growth during this time, but you want to be cautious of any misunderstandings around like estates, inheritance, other people's money, loans, debts. That's a place where you want to be sure that you're like reading the fine print, crossing your T's, dotting your I's, making sure of all the facts before you move forward. And that might also look like something like, you know, you're a Virgo rising, you do details pretty well. You might feel suddenly confused, which it is probably not you. It's not that all Virgo risings are good at details, but a lot are. And if you are one of the ones that, you know, details are not scary to you, or like any kind of particular challenge, suddenly they may feel challenging, and that can be very frustrating. There is some kind of reason for that. Just reevaluate, reassess everything, review everything before you sign, read the fine print. Those are the things that are going to help you to feel more secure in your decisions moving forward. And if blocks come up, remember, it's okay for this, whatever this is, to drag out a little bit, to move through it slowly. So try to be patient with that. Patience is hard for all of us. Do the best you can. If you have Leo rising, this eclipse and the Venus and Mercury retrograde are both affecting your 9th house, which is the house of philosophy, beliefs, your personal beliefs, your religion, if that applies, or, you know, what religion means to you. For some of us, that's, you know, a particular doctrine or a particular, you know, standard religion. For some of us, it's religion as I see it, you know, and that could be a mix of several. That could be astrology is my religion. That's the spiritual path that I follow, whatever that means for you. Just because it says religion doesn't mean it's, you know, one specific religion. This could also be about travel or about education. It's kind of just about all of those things that like expand our horizons. So this is the area of your life where there may be misunderstanding, where there may be confusion, where things just may feel mixed up right now. If you find yourself in a position where you are communicating your beliefs to someone else, it may not come across the way you intended, or it may not come across like accurately. You also want to watch for deception, either those instances where we have deceived ourselves and we kind of catch it when we're talking, like, wait, that's not what I believe in. Why am I saying that? Or it could be deception, you know, somebody else, either intentionally or unintentionally misleading you. And that could be around religion, spiritual beliefs, that kind of thing. It could also be that like you have travel plans and, you know, they're canceled or they're like lost in some way. So that could be planes being canceled. That can be like you thought you made a reservation and it's just not there. Swear that you did it, but it's gone. So if you have any travel coming up, you just want to double check all of your plans, double check all of your reservations, make sure everything is still kosher. If there are any communications around like going back to school or starting like a new phase in some kind of educational pursuit, again, make sure you've checked all the boxes, that you have researched all the details. If you like read a start date one time Like you're almost guaranteed to get that date wrong later. So just, read it over a couple times, mark it down in a couple different places, make sure it's the same in all the places that you put it. Sometimes too, doing like a reminder, like a day before, hey, by the way, you have that thing. That can be helpful too. But if there's like a start date that you really want to remember, just don't take for granted, like, oh yeah, I got that. Double check. If you have Cancer rising, this eclipse is highlighting your professional life, your career, your public reputation, and your like public persona, who you show up as to the rest of the world. It's not who the people who are close to you see, it's who your coworkers might see, or who, you show up as in day-to-day life in places where you don't expose, everything private about yourself. It doesn't indicate like a false persona per se. It's like if we have boundaries, we're different at home than we are in front of people that we hardly know. So it's the part of myself that I allow the public to see. There could be opportunities for changes in your career, whether that's upward motion or, just going to a new place where maybe the environment's better, taking on new projects at work, or, taking on new responsibilities in some way in your work. It may also be that like your perception of your work has changed. Maybe this was, your dream job and it just turned out not for you, or you really enjoyed it for a time and it's coming to an end. Sometimes that happens. Like, it was a great job and I really did love it. I kind of don't want it to end, but it's just time and I just feel that. So you don't want to make any like rush, like impulsive decisions, especially if like an urge to change or leave is based around a misunderstanding with someone or a conflict with someone, because it may be that the conflict, it turns out, was a misunderstanding. So it could be that you just want to like sit with it for a while, and there may be something different that you're going to do in the future. You just want to be cautious of doing it impulsively. Also, in your professional life, clear communication and like remaining professional are important right now. So it's not a time to like be dumping like your private life at work. And sometimes we get overwhelmed. It can happen to anyone. I just go into work and I'm feeling overwhelmed today and bleh. You just want to be cautious of that happening. If it does, it does. What are you going to do? Hopefully, if that's the case for you, your coworkers are good people and they understand, and that's great. But if that's not the kind of environment that you work in, then this is just something you want to be mindful of. Like, it might be a good day to call out, or it might be a good week to take like a 4-day vacation or a 4-day weekend. Whatever's going to help you to move through this easier, that's what you want to do. You also want to be cautious of any kind of miscommunication with anyone in authority. And that can be police officers, or it can be bosses, or it can be like, you go into court for a ticket. That could be the judge. Anyone who you see as, having authority in your life or over some aspect of your life. You just want to be cautious of any miscommunication where that's concerned. It just might be that, the facts aren't all there yet. So you don't want to make a decision based on like a confused interaction, if that makes sense. If you have Gemini rising, this eclipse is occurring in your 11th house. So that means the eclipse is affecting your community, whatever you consider your community. So that could be like literally your neighborhood, your apartment complex, whatever that looks like for you. It's also affecting like friendships, or can affect friendships. And that would be like groups of friends, not necessarily like your best friend or like someone you've had a one-on-one friendship with for years and years. This is more about like the group that you associate with. Those dynamics could be changing right now. And that could be, again, dynamics within a group of friends, or it could be dynamics within a larger community that you associate with. Also, this is also that place where you might experience miscommunications, remember, it's like Mercury is already retrograde and now it went and got drunk. Like it's not just a fleeting thing. It may feel heavier than that, or it may feel more significant than just, did so and so say that? I don't think they did. It's not like a little thing that you just kind of wave off. And it might not directly involve you, it might involve more significantly the people around you, but that in and of itself is affecting you. Like the fact that everybody is feeling confused or just feeling off, and wherever maybe you rely on that group, you're feeling off as a result. The only thing you can really do for you is to make sure that your intentions as you communicate them to other people are as clear as you can make them. It's just a really difficult time to accomplish that. So try to have patience with yourself and others as everyone moves through this. Do your best to be the voice of reason, to maybe slow people down if you can. It's not your responsibility, but if you want a job to do, you can do that. You can choose that, but it's not incumbent upon you. It's not like that's the point of the transit is that you have to save everyone. It's just more if you need to keep yourself busy, or if you need to find something to do within this, like if you're feeling kind of powerless, you can try that, but you're not going to be able to jump in and just fix it for everyone. Oh, well, what you need to do is this and what you need to do is that. That's not going to work. That will so blow up in your face. If you're going to advise others, you want to advise them more in the way of hey, why don't we just, give it a minute? Or, it's possible we're not clear about everything right now, or we don't have all the information yet. So maybe we should just give it a minute and wait until we're sure that that's where we're sitting, that we know everything and that we've got, all our ducks in a row before we move forward. If that makes sense. Also, remember, again, this can be about social networks, social media networks. You might make a decision to stay off of social media for a while. That wouldn't be a bad idea. Not because you are particularly bad with social media or that social media is particularly bad. But if there's a platform that you've kind of just been get rid of it. Maybe you have that feeling towards it for a reason and it's just not serving you anymore. If you have Taurus rising, this eclipse and the retrogrades are happening in your 12th house. The 12th house is about subconscious matters, can be about self-isolation, not necessarily for any bad reason, but I want to take a break from people. So I'm kind of, staying at home, not connecting with others. It can also look like a retreat, like an actual planned time away from everything that you know. That sounded really intense. I mean, it can be a spa, it can be a weekend away. It can be jail. For some people it's jail, but it definitely doesn't have to be that. It's just spending time in a completely different environment for the purpose of self-reflection. It's a really good time for spiritual retreats. If there's a place that you go to for that, now is a good time. So the benefit for you of this transit is that it can open up the opportunity for increased self-awareness or some type of spiritual or emotional growth. But the downside here is that there's also room for self-sabotage or sabotage from others. And in this case, it's likely that that's coming in the form of some type of deception. So that's, am I not being honest with myself? Or is there dishonesty in my environment that I'm shrugging off and not addressing? So if that's the case, this is a good time to take a minute, reflect. Is there something going on in my environment that I don't really want to be a part of anymore? Or is there something in my environment that I need to avoid moving forward? And that might be, avoiding for a short time, or, maybe that's something that needs to go completely out of your life. Either way, it might not be the best time to make that permanent decision right now, but taking a break, that can't hurt anything. And if that helps you to get some clarity, then that's a good thing to do. So that's it for this eclipse update. Thank you for your patience with me as I took forever to get this video out. Remember that eclipses are really powerful times and they're transformative times, and a lot of things shift. And even though this one is coming with a lot of confusion, as long as we're using this time to review, reassess things, reevaluate things, check things over again, double check your answer, that kind of thing. As long as you're using this time for that, then this can still be about a powerful new beginning. We just don't want to rush it. Thank you for joining me today. If you found this video helpful, please like and subscribe. Feel free to leave a comment or a question in the box below. I read them and I have responded to all of them so far. Be back next week with some info about the Saturn-Neptune transit, so look for that. And until then, take really good care of you.